Good afternoon. I'd like to call the first in-person meeting of the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources for this session to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Anderson? Assemblywoman Black?
Here.
Assemblywoman Brown May? Assemblywoman Carlton? Assemblywoman Cohen?
Here.
Assemblyman Ellison? Assemblywoman Gonzalez? Assemblywoman Hanson? Assemblywoman Martinez? Assemblywoman Titus? Assemblyman Wheeler? Chair Watts?
Here. Thank you. Please mark Assemblywoman Hanson as excused, and please mark Assemblywoman Gonzalez and Carlton present when they arrive. Just for members of the public, as you know, the legislative building is now open at limited capacity. If you wish to participate during meetings in person, you must register on Nellis and follow the related instructions. We are also still allowing virtual participation in our meetings. Members, before we begin, a quick reminder, since we're back in the committee room, please be sure to press the mic button to unmute yourself so that we can properly broadcast what you are saying as well to our folks that are joining us online. Please remember to mute your electronic devices as well. And also we will be having everyone wear their mask during the duration of our meetings here. In addition, a few quick housekeeping announcements as usual. Information on how to participate in any form may be found on every meeting agenda as well as on the legislative website. You must register in advance to participate. Written comments can also be emailed to our committee email address before, during, or up to 48 hours after the meeting. Any exhibits or amendments must be submitted electronically in PDF form to our committee manager no later than 4 p.m. the business day prior to the meeting. All exhibits that are posted can be found on the Nevada Legislature's website. We'll ask that anyone providing public comment or testimony limit their remarks to 2 minutes so that we can accommodate all speakers and get through our agenda in a timely manner. And with that, I believe we can move on to our business for today. Members, we have 3 bills on our agenda to hear, and I believe we'll take them in order today. We will start with Senate Bill 23, which revises provisions relating to the State Conservation Commission. I believe we have Mr. Echegoyen from DCNR ready to present the bill. Mr. Echegoyen, whenever you are ready, you may proceed. I'll now open the hearing.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, member of the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. My name is Dominic Echegoyen. I'm a Deputy Director with the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Thank you for having me today to present and introduce Senate Bill 23. I'm hoping that this might be the simplest legislative proposal you consider this session, as SB 23 simply proposes to move a single word in statute. Existing law creates the State Conservation Commission and establishes 3 areas from which the governor shall appoint members to the commission. Here on slide 2, we show the current area boundaries with Mineral County shown in Area 3 in blue. These 3 areas consist of counties, and the area boundary lines follow the county lines exactly. SB 23 would move Mineral County from Area 3 to Area 2 in statute. The purpose of SB 23 is to resolve a boundary conflict that currently exists within the Mason Conservation District boundary and the area boundary between areas 2 and 3. Slide 3 shows the Mason Valley Conservation District boundary in light blue, which encompasses a portion of Lyon County and the entirety of Mineral County, and thereby straddles areas 2 and 3, which you can see the boundary of here in the hard red line. And you can see how that line bisects the center of Mason Valley Conservation District. This boundary conflict is confusing, and it has caused the Nevada Association of Conservation Districts to recommend that the governor appoint a Mason Valley Conservation District supervisor to the State Conservation Commission to represent Area 2, only to later learn that the supervisor was ineligible because the supervisor actually resided in the Area 3 portion of the Mason Valley Conservation District. Transferring Mineral County from Area 3 to Area 2 will resolve the existing boundary conflict, the result of which you see here with the dashed red line. SB 23 will align the Mason Valley Conservation District boundary with the area boundary, thereby allowing Mason Valley Conservation District supervisors to represent the entirety of the Mason Valley Conservation District at the area level and on the State Conservation Commission, regardless of where that member happens to reside within the Conservation District. This boundary change will also promote congruency in locally led conservation and support efforts to better manage resources across the Walker River watershed. Here, slide 4 shows the area boundaries should SB 23 be passed into law. This completes my testimony, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your clear and concise presentation, Mr. Echegoyen. We'll move on to questions. I believe I have a question from Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is my district, as you, I'm sure, are well aware, since I live along the Walker River, actually, and that Walker River is in the Mason Valley district. And then in my mind, this does make sense, and surprised it hasn't been done earlier, in that the Walker River ends up in Walker Lake, which is then in Mineral County, and it's been a source of an issue, and you've presented in the past some of the water conservation concerns that you had and trying to fix some of this. So I'm pleased to see you're kind of drawing it in together, so when some of these decisions have to be made, they actually, pardon the pun, but flow together. And so I appreciate you bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously a comment, so sorry, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Thank you. Are there any other questions from members? I do have one very quick clarifying question, Mr. Echegoyen. Just to be clear, there is nobody representing, let's see here, there's nobody representing Area 3 who is based in Mineral County currently, correct? So this would not create any issues with the current makeup by making this adjustment?
No, my understanding is that is correct. This would not upset the apple cart, so to speak, with regards to our current representation. But it did prevent a previous appointment that was being considered.
Understood. Thank you very much. All right. Any last questions, members? Seeing none, we'll move on to testimony. We will begin with testimony in support of Senate Bill 23. We're lucky enough to have a guest joining us, but seeing that they're not coming to the table, I think we can go and see if we have anybody in the queue by phone wishing to provide testimony in support.
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you very much. To keep the record clear, we'll move on to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 23. Seeing none
Chair,
in
at this
person.
time.
BPS, is there anyone on the phone?
Chair, the public line is still open and working, and there are no callers at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to testimony in the neutral position on Senate Bill 23. Seeing none in the room, BPS, is there anybody on the phone?
Chair, at this time, there are no callers in the queue.
Thank you very much. Mr. Echegoyen, are there any closing comments you wish to make on this exceptionally brief presentation?
No, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. With that, I'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 23, and we'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 53, which makes various changes relating to the division of state parks of the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And I do believe we have a representative from State Parks with us. I will open the hearing. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Watts, members of the committee. My name is Jonathan Brunges, Deputy Administrator for the Nevada Division of State Parks. I'm here today to introduce and present testimony in support of Senate Bill 53. Please allow me to provide a bit of backstory to explain why passing Senate Bill 53 is critical to the operation of Nevada State Parks. NRS 407.0765 establishes a utility surcharge account that the Nevada Division of State Parks utilizes to make repairs to water, sewer, and electrical systems within the various state parks. The utility surcharge account is funded through a portion of the park entrance fees and annual permit sales that occur at specific parks. Currently, the utility surcharge accounts are park specific. As a result, parks with high visitation like Valley of Fire and Sand Harbor generate a lot of fee revenue, which in turn generates a higher balance in the utility surcharge account for maintenance and repairs. Likewise, parks in remote locations with low visitation, like Mormon Station and Berlin-Ichthyosaur, generate a minimal revenue, and as a result, the utility surcharge accounts in these parks is not adequate to cover costly repairs when they do occur. The original intent of this structure was to ensure that smaller parks did not have their accounts emptied by busier parks with larger utility infrastructures, which in turn are subject to higher use and more wear and tear. The opposite has proven to be the case. Because these funds may only be spent at the park where it was actually collected, smaller parks never build enough balances to handle large utility infrastructure failures. It is absolutely critical to maintain balances and build flexibility into the utility surcharge account. And although it is impossible to predict when or where a catastrophic failure will happen, such as when a septic system will fail, it is certain such failures occur during the busiest time of the year, making it more crucial to make immediate repairs. Senate Bill 53 would allow the division to utilize the utility surcharge account to make repairs within the region where the fees are collected, rather than at the individual parks. Senate Bill 53 will allow the region managers and facility managers to better utilize these resources to make immediate repairs at any of the parks within their respective region, and not just the larger parks with the bigger utility surcharge account balances. Senate Bill 53 includes language making it clear that the division will collect fees at all areas that the division manages. The current language calls out parks specifically, when in reality, the division manages recreation areas, historic sites, historic parks, as well as we have our region offices and division offices where we currently sell annual permits. Senate Bill 53 also seeks to include communication systems within the definition of qualifying utilities. Maintaining an adequate communications at a state park is every bit as critical to the park operations as the water, sewer, or electrical systems. And telecommunications, internet, and radio systems are essential to our park operations to ensure our staff are in a position to provide adequate public safety to park visitors. And communication systems can be expensive to fix and require immediate repair when they do go down. Since these types of communication system failures are not a regular occurrence, funding does not currently exist in the division's operating budget to make necessary repairs when there are issues within the communication systems. And the passage of Senate Bill 53 would correct that. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thank you very much for your presentation. With that, we'll move on to questions. I believe we have a question from Dr. Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is a question. So we already have a fee that is charged to get into these parks, and I just need some clarification. So will be a new fee on top of the entrance fee, or is it a fee that's specific, if you use these utilities, or how does this all work? If you could explain that, it's not clear to me.
Jonathan Bridges, for the record. Thank you, Assemblywoman Titus. There are no new fees to our park visitors. So we're actually already collecting this fee. The bill is simply allowing us to utilize that surcharge at a region level instead of just a park level, if that answers your question.
Oh, I see. So right now, any fees collected at a park can be used for multiple purposes throughout the state, not just at that park, or that's just the reverse? If you collect a fee at a park, you're just using it at that park?
Jonathan Bridges, for the record. So, for example, the southern region has 5 state parks. Right now, if someone comes into Valley of Fire and they pay their entrance fee, $1 out of that entrance fee goes into the surcharge account.
Correct.
The bill would change it so that the $1 from the entrance fee from any of the parks in the southern region would go into a region account,
Okay.
so that it can be used at any of the parks within that respective region.
So how will you handle, just out of curiosity, this summer, what the impact will be? I've just learned that the road into the Ecuador State Park is going to be closed for quite a while. I think they're doing some construction road work on that. Are you aware of that? And then how does that affect your being able to keep that park open?
Jonathan Brunges for the record. Thank you for the question. I am aware that park will be closed in the summer due to the road construction. As anticipated, I believe that park will be closed completely to the public until about November, if I'm not mistaken.
Will you be able to sorry, Mr. Chair, if I might follow up on that question. Will you be able to maintain that park? I was concerned when I found out that road was going to be closed, how my husband was actually a ranger there at one point in his youthful days, and I was just curious, will that be able to be maintained, and will it be able to be kept up? I had some concerns about that. I know that doesn't address this issue, but I'm concerned.
Jonathan Brunges for the record. Again, thank you for the question. Absolutely. So the park, the staff, we have 2 staff that live out on site. They will remain out there and maintain that park and make sure everything's good to go out there.
Okay, great. Thank you for the questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I believe we have a question from Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the presentation. My question actually has to do with, it gets into the weeds a little bit. When, let's just say this passes, will all of the accounts be put in right away by region for the parks, or will they continue to be divided out and only if one of the smaller parks needs it? I realize that's not necessarily part of this bill, but I'm just trying to figure out the details of how this would work actually. Are you going to put all the money into one account, or is it going to continue to be separated by the regions?
Jonathan Brunges for the record. Thank you for the question. It would, upon approval, would go into essentially 4 accounts. So we have 4 regions and be broken out that way. And so again, a park, if they needed access to those funds, they would submit a request like we currently do. And then it would go through the steps of approval for them to be able to utilize those funds.
Follow up, if I may, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So just to make sure then, so they would come to you then for that approval, or would it be the other park ranger or the other park managers who might have been saving up to do something? I mean, am I making clear kind of what my concern is that maybe there's been one of the parks that's been saving up money and now it's going to be put into an account where some of the others will have to make some decisions, like they're able to apply for it as well. Where's the deciding factor going to be? Who makes that decision as to how to utilize that money?
Jonathan Brunges for the record. Thank you for the question. So the current the procedures for that won't change. Currently, a park supervisor, for example, would submit a request to access those funds. It then goes to the region manager, and then from there it goes to the deputy administrator, and then to our administrator, and goes all the way up to the director's office. So there's quite a bit of a check and balance to utilize those funds, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Mr. Ellison, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you tell me, does the division who has the jurisdiction over the area over by the agriculture department in Reno, all that bare land? Where would that fall under? Would that fall under the Division of Parks? That's where the agriculture lab is and all that bare land, that agriculture land out there. Who actually controls that? Do you know?
Jonathan Brunges for the record. I'm not sure. Our Director Dominique Etchigo, he might be able to answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for members? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Brunges, for the presentation. With that, we will open testimony on Senate Bill 53. We'll start with anyone wishing to provide testimony in support, first in the room, Seeing none. BPS, do we have anybody on the phone wishing to provide testimony in support of SB 53?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to testimony in opposition. None in the room. BPS, anybody by phone?
Chair, there are still no callers at this time.
Thank you. And with that, we'll move to testimony in the neutral position on SB 53. None in the room. BPS, anybody join the phone queue?
Chair, there are no callers at this time.
All right. Thank you. With that, we will close testimony. Mr. Brunges, are there any closing remarks you'd wish to make?
Jonathan Brennan, for the record, no, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. With that, we will close the hearing on Senate Bill 53. And we'll move on to the last bill on our agenda today, which is Senate Bill 65, which revises provisions relating to the State Department of Agriculture. And I'll open the hearing on SB 65. I see we have Director Ott with us. Director, whenever you are ready, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Ott, Director of the Department of Agriculture. Thank you for allowing me to present to you Senate Bill 65, which is a cleanup bill updating provisions relating to the Department of Agriculture. To provide a little background, after the 2019 legislative session, the Department of Agriculture developed a 5-year strategic plan to establish clear goals for the department's future. Goal number 1 of that plan is to modernize our statutory and regulatory framework. Senate Bill 65 seeks to clean up language for the organizational structure of the department, as well as adjust the requirements for the state veterinarian. We are also requesting the names of 2 divisions be revised to accurately describe the activities of that division to provide clarity to the public. The bill does not create any positions new to the department or require any additional funding. It simply formalizes existing positions as part of the makeup of the department. I have in the past received some questions regarding the deletion of language. This bill does not remove authority or add authority. It just changes the language to reference NRS rather than trying to capture all NRS by specific wording. This will help the department comply with future NRS changes made by the legislature. There are no amendments to this bill, and I have not been notified of forthcoming amendments, and all fiscal notes on this bill are 0, and I have not been notified of forthcoming fiscal notes. And at this time, Chairman, I'll quickly run through the sections. Sections 1 and 2. Thank you. Sections 1 and 2 names the Division of Administrative Services and lists the 5 divisions as existing in the department, inclusive of the name changes. Though the Administration Division has existed in the department for some time and performs vital functions such as fiscal administration and IT, it was not previously recognized in statute. Section 3, 5, 12, and 13 changes the name of the Division of Consumer Equitability to the Division of Measurement Standards, thusly the State Sealer of Consumer Equitability to the State Sealer of Measurement Standards. And this change more accurately reflects the activities of the division. Section 6 reduces the requirements of the state veterinarian from having 5 years of regulatory experience to 3 years of regulatory experience. Section 7 and 9 revises the language for the Division of Animal Industry and its administrator to refer to the statutory obligations of this division as specified in NRS. The existing language describing this division in NRS 561 has not undergone substantial revision for some time, while the NRS that governs the activities named has undergone revisions over several legislative sessions. No changes are being made to the duties as described in the underlying sections. Section 8 modifies the language for the Division of Food and Nutrition and its administrator to refer to the statutory obligations of this division as specified in NRS. Section 9 changes the name of the Plant Industry Division to the Division of Plant Health and Compliance and amends the language to refer to the statutory obligations of this division. Section 4, 10, 11, 14, 15, and 16 includes conforming changes. Section 17 states the effective date of January 1, 2022. And thank you, Chairman. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll move on to questions from members. I believe we have a question from Assemblywoman Titus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple questions, if I might, on the bill itself. And I have a copy of the actual old-fashioned bill here. So under Section 6, number 2, it states the state veterinarian must, and then it says have to be a graduate. Do they have to have a Nevada license? Do they have to be a licensed veterinarian in the state of Nevada?
Jennifer Ott for the record. No, they do. Well, they will have a license in order to be a state veterinarian, but not for the recruitment requirements. We did not want to put that in statute because we wanted to have the ability to recruit licensed veterinarians from other states or other countries potentially. So we wanted to keep that recruitment open, but we would require it as a job in an unclassified position for them to have a Nevada license.
So you're not going to require that they must have or apply for a license to practice veterinary medicine in the state of Nevada? I mean, we hire physicians from out of the state all the time, but they have to be able to get a license, be licensed in the state of Nevada. So are you going to mandate somewhere that the state veterinarian has or is qualified and must have? I mean, we ask our attorney general to hire licensed Nevada attorneys. I'm just curious about that.
Jennifer Ott for the record. Yes, thank you for your question. I understand your concern. Like I said, we just don't have it in statute. It's part of hiring requirements.
So for the
It's just
record,
not-
that will be a requirement that they must be licensed in the state of Nevada, ultimately. And then
Jennifer Ott.
another question, Mr. Chair. So on Section 9, all the language that you're deleting, part of that has some important functions, and part of that is to participate in land use relating to the competition for food and water between livestock and wildlife, to ensure the maintenance of the habitat for livestock and wildlife. So you're not going to have those duties anymore, that the administrator will not have that duty, and who, if not the administrator, who will be doing that?
Jennifer Ott for the record. Like I said, the language there is captured under other NRS. The reason why we have it deleted under this one is because that is actually most recently in the department covered under the administrator for plant industries and not animal industries. Plant industries is the one that has the natural resources component as of the makeup of the department.
All right, thank you. I guess I'm just concerned about our feral horses and some of those issues, the feral livestock that's out there under B. So where can you refer me to so I could find who will be responsible for that? Is there a NR somewhere? It's been a huge problem. Somebody needs to be responsible for monitoring that. I would assume it's in your department, as you said, and I'm just looking forward to where is that and what statute will that now be in, or is it already in?
Jennifer Ott for the record. Yes, I apologize. That specific section, Part B, is still under animal industries. The feral livestock is still under animal industries, and it is covered under NRS 569. And I'm happy to provide you and the committee an exact listing of where those are.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I understand that you're kind of renaming and redirecting, and I just want to make sure who now will assume these responsibilities and the fact that somebody else has them already. I just needed some clarification. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Cohen.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I'm sorry if I missed this. I don't think I did. The reduction from 5 years to 3 years. Can you please discuss that and what the basis is for that?
Sure. Jennifer Ott for the record. Under Section 6 is the state veterinarian reduction of regulatory experience from 5 years to 3 years over the past few years. And I want to just clarify, regulatory experience is not veterinary experience. It's specific to regulations. And so we were finding just recruitment to be difficult for we found many veterinarians, but very few that would have a regulatory experience that would fit in a state veterinarian for the Department of Agriculture or in those that are regulating the health for livestock. And so we were just reducing that in order to basically for recruitment purposes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, are there any other questions for Director Ott? Seeing none, thank you again for the presentation. With that, we'll now move on to testimony for Senate Bill 65. We'll begin with testimony in support, and we do have somebody in person. Welcome. You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. It is great to be here in person with you and see all of you. For the record, my name is Elliot Mallon, representing the Nevada Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Store Association. We just want to be on the record supporting this legislation and appreciate the Department of Agriculture and Director Ott for bringing this bill forward. Specifically, we appreciate the renaming of the Division of Consumer Equitability to measure standards, putting us more in line with the rest of the country and alleviating confusion and really defining what they do. So thank you, and that is my testimony. Nice and short.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Mallon. With that, Broadcast Production Services, do we have anybody on the phone wishing to testify in support?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move to testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 65. Broadcast, do we have anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition?
Chair, there are no callers for opposition at this time.
Thank you. And we'll move on to testimony in neutral of SB 65. Do we have anyone wishing to testify by phone?
Chair, there are no callers in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. Director Ott, are there any closing remarks that you'd like to make?
No, thank you, Chairman. I appreciate you considering this bill.
Thank you very much. With that, I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 65. And members, that now takes us to the last item on our agenda for today, which is public comment. As a reminder, in order to provide public comment, you must register either to join us here in the legislative building or provide comment by phone. We ask that you limit your remarks to 2 minutes and clearly state and spell your name before beginning. With that, seeing none in person, Broadcast, do we have anyone wishing to provide public comment by phone?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
All right. Thank you very much. That was a very quick meeting. 3 bills, 33 minutes. Yeah, it's amazing what being in person can do, I think, for expediting things. Thank you again to all of the sponsors and presenters of the bills. Thank you, members, for your time and attention, and for those who did join us to provide your testimony and thoughts. With that, our next meeting will be on Monday, the 26th of April at 4 p.m. With that, this meeting is adjourned.